Poverty in Nebraska was the topic of focus today at a special conference and finding better ways to help Nebraska families who are struggling. Channel 8's Veronica Barreto joins us live with more on what needs to be done. Veronica?
Poverty rates in Nebraska was trending down until the pandemic happened. A conference today is bringing attention to this trend ahead of the next legislative session this January. Data from the Center for Public Affairs Research at UNO shows Nebraska's poverty rate right now is around 10%, and it's lower than average for the United States.
But still, here in Nebraska, that means 1 in 10 are in poverty, and even higher rates for kids.
The Coalition for a Stronger Nebraska organized a conference to address poverty in our state and how the pandemic and inflation is harming families.
So it's going to take multiple people from multiple organizations to collectively work together in order to solve poverty here in Nebraska.
Across our state, there are some signs of poverty that have become more visible.
Hunger just being a symptom of a much larger problem.
The pandemic and inflation worsened situations for Nebraska families.
We've been seeing somewhere around a 40% increase in individuals in households that are now seeking food assistance. Many of them are doing so for the very first time.
Speakers also discussed another of the symptoms related to poverty in our state.
And so if people aren't able to get a good job, have health care, then unfortunately sometimes they're not going to be able to be as healthy as they want.
Rodriguez says health disparities and poverty affects more minorities.
We do unfortunately have higher rates of diabetes, higher rates of heart disease among our minority populations.
Rodriguez says research also shows that there is a correlation between where racial minorities live, poverty, and access to basic services.
Think about Lincoln and the center of Lincoln, where you see more poverty, you see racial and ethnic minorities. There's no grocery store, and so there's not very many green spaces for them to go and be able to maybe take their kids to the park, and so that's unfortunately what we're seeing.
The speakers agreed that in order to address poverty in our state and in communities, different organizations, businesses, and the government needs to come together. To learn more on this story, you can visit KLKNTV.com.
Veronica, thank you very much for our top story tonight.